Hello, Bobs. Since I've finished the Jeffers Memorial tribute, I shall move on to another author, a dubious one in the UFO field, called Laura Mundo, or Mundo, whichever you prefer. This book is Flying Saucers and the Father's Plan, reconciling Christianity with science and philosophy. It was written in 1963 and published by Saucerian Press. This book is dedicated to George Adamski, who opened the way into outer space for me, and to my co-workers, both from this planet and other planets, who would want no credit, and to the Father of us all, on all planets, as Earthman once more joins the universal family of planets from which he has so long ignorantly isolated himself. Laura Mundo. Author's note. The preface to Flying Saucers and the Father's Plan. Maybe I'll just read my regular voice. So I don't. Author's note. The preface to Flying Saucers and the Father's Plan has been written by Carmela Falzone, who has been co-director with Laura Mundo of the Planetary Center for more than 2 years, and co-editor with her of the Interplanetary newsletter for much of that time, based out of Dearborn, Michigan, because she suggested that any editing might possibly change meanings, if only subtly. The author has requested that the publisher refrain from correcting any part of Carmela's preface. Carmela has worked with me while she continued to work 5 and 6 days a week as a seamstress in the upholstering department of the Fisher Body Division of General Motors, Livonia, Michigan. It was from Carmela that Laura many times borrowed money on which to live personally. She also lived with her for quite a few years, to be paid back as the father wills on a perpetuating long-term, no due date, no interest charge loan. In order to finish the tremendous writing schedule that developed to conduct the center as a public information bureau interspersed with no-fee lecturing. Carmela, single, age 35, is a religious and political independent also, comes from Italian parentage that could neither read nor write, and did not, therefore, emphasize education. Carmela herself did not finish grammar school. Her parents were very casual about their Catholic background, and she has never studied metaphysics. Neither has she ever seen a flying saucer. You can judge for yourself in the following preface whether or not she has a basic understanding of the Father and God as the atomic all of being and remainder of before being. As Laura Mundo presents it, an awareness of the Father's plan in her own life and in connection with Earthman, and of the visitors living incognito among us. Carmela has continued to work with us despite family disapproval, such as the open antagonism of one brother who shares with her the responsibility of the home and care of an ailing mother, who sometimes tried to understand, sometimes opposed, of other married brothers and sisters, some opposed, some allowed. She went through a major surgical operation during this period as well. She did not follow the author blindly either. Often she was presented with difficult choices that meant calling upon the Father. Preface. The contents of this book are for those who are realistic of mind, not for the gullible at large who follow blindly without question, nor those who are attempting an escape from the realism of life's offering to some spiritual realm in some ambiguous somewhere. The subject which the author will touch upon may appear to some, since they have the tendency to follow their authoritative leaders blindly, as being theoretical of nature. In view of this, the reader will find and concur, but not spelled properly, that the nature of this book is highly unusual and not the ordinary run-of-the-mill type book, which one can find in any bookstore or library shelf. its purpose being solely in the interest of humanity, in aiding Earthman on how to come through the pending planetary changes to come about in this lifetime. For the skeptic person who may read this book and draw upon an immediate conclusion that it's basically unsound due to lack of tangible evidence, it is only because the author is unable to supply them with such proof to back up her understanding, in which she is passing on free of charge for others to consider the possibility of what she is saying. They in turn must remember this. What is one man's proof may not be another's. Each, in effect, have their own ideas of what is proof to them. As a consequence, those demanding such proof will lose out on that which will be vital in their interest, because they themselves have shortcomings in their personal makeup to recognize tangible evidence so subtly presented before their eyes. Therefore, it is suggested for those who cannot attune themselves to any truth that may be present in this book that they should set it aside and forget about it, for time will prove all. As its purpose is not intended to disturb one's equilibrium, but rather to stimulate the minds of those who have perception and wisdom in considering the possibility of human life existing on other planets besides our own. Mankind for too long has been erroneously taught he is the sole inhabitant in God's universe by those who have taken it upon themselves to be an authority on the subject. Sorry if I quick speak. On occasion, it's hard to read while holding a phone over a book. As sincere as they are, their teachings have limited and crystallized Earthman's evolutionary process. Mankind today is needlessly suffering because he has been suppressed from knowledge that may be his saving grace. The atomic age has increased the anxiety within mankind, with knowing the probability one day of facing annihilation by the atomic bomb. His hopes of lasting peace among men and nations diminishes. All right. As this old age problem of, okay, is that an A or is that A and S combined? I think it's an A and an S combined. As this age-old problem of rumors of war confront him daily, as new crises develop on our planet, he accepts the former possibility without question as being inevitable as a consequence. Needless to say, this trained line of thought could eventually lead Earthman to his early destruction. As he maintains this sort of negative attitude, prophecy need not be fulfilled, unless we ignore its warnings, for there is much hope for all of us, as there is an answer to this critical problem that besets Earthman today. Help is being sent to us by God, whether we believe this to be true or not. It is being sent by way of the more advanced physical human beings like ourselves, coming from other planets, having only the desire to help Earthman, to solve his problems and set once more balance amongst ourselves. Our only means of achieving peace is through them, as they teach and demonstrate their higher way of life to us. The author emphasizes the importance to welcome these advanced beings in as soon as possible, for time is an important factor in Earthman's instance. No apostrophe. The author of this book, with whom I have been closely associated with for the past 3 years and a half, is a person who has truly dedicated her life to the cause of world peace, in whom I hold highly in my esteem as being morally suitable, morale suitable to present universal understanding to humanity. The godly qualities that are within and part of Laura Mundo's personal makeup. I'm just going to correct the spelling errors. I don't care what Laura dictated. For her, my whole outlook on life is, in general, would not this word salad bullshit, would not have taken on a new perspective. Upon reading her literature for the first time per my request, the message of truth that was found in her writings hit me like a bolt of lightning. The sensation was electrifying, even though I did not fully understand the majority of her technical knowledge at first and stated so. My saving grace can be attributed to my ignorance of knowledge on all facets of life, and having the wisdom to set aside that which I did not comprehend. Profound understanding can be understood by even an illiterate or one such as myself whose academic training had been limited, but is not any longer. I wonder if that's a faux pas. I did not graduate from grammar school. Is grammar school like grade school? Or is that high school too? My lack of receiving a higher education was partly due to the fact that my parents could neither read nor write. Therefore, could not at an early stage in my life emphasize the importance of education to me. The parental guidance in exposing me to Catholicism, in which they believe in, and expected me to follow suit, was casual. Thus, I was not encouraged to study its teachings to any degree. As it were, they were too busy living in a world of their own to be concerned with my personal growth, in which they were responsible for until reaching of age, with raising me in a negative manner and all. It amazes me to no end that I have developed as well as I have, in spite of their negative teachings. Nevertheless, in view of my limited education of a higher nature, I was able to comprehend to a greater degree the author's understanding of the Father, God, and the visitors as she presented it to me as time elapsed, only because I had made an effort to understand her teachings. Therefore, in my own instance, it should go to prove that one need not be an intellect to understand the profundity of the author's understanding, or the messages so clearly present of a way out for Earthman from his woes and tribulations. In allowing myself to be exposed to Laura Mundo's understanding, I call her Mundo, I know others call her Mundo, been erroneously taught to me. No, I'm sorry. In allowing myself to be exposed to Laura Mundo's understanding without setting up a mental block due to those teachings that have been erroneously taught to me, I have benefited tremendously from her teachings because I dared to pay attention. Ever since the day that I had taken the initiative upon myself to promoting the reality of the visitors, even though as of this writing I have never seen a flying saucer, but which I could conceive of them, I have found my whole life open up in an unprecedented way. Since through Laura's teachings I have been able to recognize on my own those visitors living incognito amongst us, I have found that their purpose for coming is in connection with the overall plan God has in mind for all of us. They are not hostile in nature as Earthmen has proven to be. Otherwise, they could have long ago conquered our planet. With being in advance of us scientifically, with their technical know-how, we would not have stood a chance with them, which should go to prove they are spiritually, intuitively in advance of us. To come in peace. On a whole, their intentions are to unite us once again, and with the rest of our universal family in our island universe, in which we have severed our relationship with them through our own fault and ignorance. The visitors' higher way of life can be ours as well by the choice we have through the desire and willingness to reevaluate our negative thinking and wanting to return to our rightful places in our Father's universe. Otherwise, those refusing to cooperate with God's plan will eliminate themselves from a wonderful way of life to be established soon on our planet. The choice is ours to make, whether we want to welcome in the visitors so that they may teach us how to qualify in order to remain on this planet. No, so it's supposed to be a period. As our planet goes higher into vibration and makes a complete transition, or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. You capitalized letters after a comma. I don't know what you're doing, Carmelo. But if it wasn't for you, this book wouldn't have been published, so we shan't not deride you for your educational liabilities. The author will stress this point throughout her book of the need to reevaluate our negative thinking. See? Don't think negative about Carmelo's incompetence. before it is too late for those of us who otherwise could not have made it. I sincerely hope you will likewise benefit from her understanding, as I have. 1963, Carmelo Falzone. And illustrations by Jean Duplantier. The Father's Plan. Let me blow out this candle so I can use this as a anchoring mechanism. Chapter 1, The Father's Plan. I am very happy to pass on my experience in connection with flying saucers and the understanding that meeting the people from other planets face to face has given to me. I pass this on to people who are interested so that they may evaluate it for themselves. The phrase, the Father's Plan, in the title of this book sounds most presumptuous on my part, but I do not intend to presume or intimate that I have knowledge of the Father's plan concerning this planet, or the universe in its entirety. I can only pass on to you the small part in which I have found myself directly concerned, in that which has actually proved itself out in my own daily daily living. The part of the Father's plan that I speak of can be a workable part of your daily living too. And you can prove it for yourself if you give it a trial. What is the Father's plan? In a nutshell, as the visitors have expressed it to me, Christianity has taught, unaware that other religions have also done so, that we must be redeemed. It has not been able to quite tell us why or from what. It has not been able to tell us who we are. As Christians, we have considered ourselves as an organization of the elect, who, as an organization, are primarily concerned with unionizing ourselves against going to hell. The visitors also seek to redeem us, but they are able to tell us why and from what. They tell us that we were all, in the first place, demoted to this planet from more advanced planets within our island universe of 12 solar systems. This planet being the lowest in vibration and therefore civilization. I'm starting to realize why Laura was playing The Day That the Earth Stood Still while she was lecturing, because she basically took the concepts of, Klaatu, and put them into her philosophy. And that's pretty easy to pick up. After flunking us, however, the visitors have never deserted us. Throughout the eons, they have been helping us to climb back. Throughout the eons, they have been helping us to start the climb back up all over again. We literally did fall from paradise. The original people were brought down by spaceship, those following arriving through rebirth. All right. Reborn over and over on this planet, improving during some lifetimes, throwing away others, and slipping downward again. At first, the visitors openly gave their help to the ancients, but later they found it necessary to withdraw as Earthman became too diabolically clever and resented their help, or became pious and began to worship the visitors as being gods rather than trying to improve themselves. Man is inventive and likes to develop shortcuts. Thus he developed rituals which might substitute for his own good works, and got the idea of escaping to the visitor's heaven through death rather than through his necessary evolvement. There is now a greater urgency on the part of the visitors, for our planet is rising in atomic vibration, and since the majority of us are to remain on it, we must learn to qualify for this new condition. Those who do not qualify themselves to remain on the planet and continue their evolvement will still not be deserted by the visitors. Those people will be taken by the visitors' spaceships and have the opportunity to volunteer to go to, either physically or through rebirth, to less evolved planets. Wait, so they can take you while you're still alive and rebirth you. That's brilliant. To start their growth again, or not to start it, as they will. Let me reread that. These people will be taken to the visitors' spaceships Those who do not qualify themselves to remain on the planet and continue their evolvement will still not be deserted by the visitors. These people will be taken by the visitors' spaceships and have the opportunity to volunteer to go to, either physically or through rebirth, to less evolved planets to start their growth again or not to start it as they will. She must mean the dead people who did not evolve during their lifetime. I would obviously have to go further into my understanding of the technical aspects of being to explain what I have said in detail. This information has been given to me silently in my mind as understanding, and then confirmed vocally by the visitors, or the Father through them. Even though we may not always state it, we mean that the Father acts through them as instruments of His plan. The visitors are living incognito among us, as they always have, only pretending to be coming at this time for the first time in their ships to lift up our minds until we can allow ourselves to consider the truth. The visitors ask questions concerning such unprecedented thoughts or understanding filtering into my conscious mind from my sub and super conscious minds. They ask these questions as if they had no understanding themselves, though long ago having reached that level of understanding on their own planets. They deliberately allow themselves to be used by the Father to appear to have lesser understanding in order to bring increasing understanding out into our conscious mind. This understanding comes first from our soul mind, and then the Father, or balanced higher mind, so that Earthman can have his own leaders in the future, through whom the Father can work. Such individualism such individuals can automatically become the leaders on other planets by acclamation of the people who recognize the Father in action through them. One cannot ask intelligent questions if one does not first have some understanding of what to ask. The Father has introduced the same universal scientific facts over and over, down through our past, through the visitors and some few individual Earth people who, raised mechanically and understanding in receiving it, are able to retransmit it to humanity. Much of it has been forgotten or distorted by the retelling because the negatively prominent matter of our planet has drawn down the frequency pulse of being of the minds of those who decided to be our authorities and mankind in general. The childlike understanding of the ancients has been ridiculed by modern religious leaders, philosophers, and modern science as well. While the ancients hadn't totally isolated the atom and used the term indivisible to describe their conception of it, neither have modern scientists isolated the indivisible central core, understanding only its outer energies or orbits. Jerome, the theologian, upon whose translation of the scriptural writings the early Christian church based its teachings coming down to us as the Catholic Dewey Bible, I don't know that word, ridiculed the Roman philosopher Lucretius, whose poetry concerned the atomic nature of being, as being an insane man. Theosophy of metaphysical teaching in the 1800s reintroduced the Hindu teachings, including the atomic nature of being, in a distorted fashion. We will go into this later. But those who have erroneously been established as our leaders through political power, as was the Holy Roman Empire, have in the past withdrawn into mystery school groups, and what should have been the ABCs of Earthman's learning became hidden mysteries instead. The people of other planets advanced far beyond us, because those with greater godlike understanding did not withdraw into religious or metaphysical groups, but remained active among humanity as laymen and women, developing government and education. They did this in a godlike fashion, demonstrating godliness in their own natural living rather than spending their time insisting that others believe in God as they did and conducting rituals to captivate interest. The metaphysical idea of there being active and passive mystics advanced by those who did not know the atomic nature of being stunted growth, for growth can be accomplished only by godlike physical action. Godlike physical action. We are learning, folks. The purpose of the coming of the visitors is to help us to isolate or become aware of our human and soul minds, or negative and positive polarities, or thinking energies of our conscious minds, and the third, less active neutral polarity or father mind in and as part of our conscious mind, and to merge these before it is too late. As tensions mount on this planet and atmospheric vibrations increase, and even this aggravated by continuing atomic tests, this awareness and development we must accomplish before we can begin to establish a more godlike society on this planet, let alone go to visit their planets. Thus, in coming, they have given us a mirror to hold up to ourselves, if we will, to see our own discrepancies in relationship to their more advanced selves. Just as, relatively speaking, we can realize when we inspect a less advanced nation on this planet, which may be inferior socially, intellectually, and spiritually. Unfortunately, however, even in the most advanced of us, Earthman's human mind energies are more predominantly active as yet, in and as part of his conscious mind, excepting when meditating too much, precipitating too many positive or soul energies from the atmosphere, which is just as bad. Word salad. Earthman, in the main, considers any possible people on other planets as being monsters. Or if his protonic or soul mind is too active in his conscious mind, he considers that there can be only angels or spirit beings beyond this planet. The latter considers such beings to be up there in the heavens, if he localizes it even that much. The human mind is not yet a sensitive enough instrument to pick up the delicate nuances or vibrations or ideas or frequencies in between. The visitors also act, as I have said, as less evolved Earth people to show us our own areas of self-righteousness in judging them, unaware there is little time, but a vital need to find out about ourselves, and she uses all caps to express the emergency of the situation. She mentioned that in a letter to an editor somewhere. As atomic individuals, learning by what we deem to be errors others are making, to be sure, only what not to do for ourselves, not to condemn them. Naturally, we are not speaking about those people who must be concerned with civil authority, executing man's law which he has set up to police himself until he can act as his own policeman. I sincerely thank those readers who have followed along with me so far and who have tried to understand the rather difficult concepts for Earthman I have tried to convey. If you are willing to further pursue these concepts, I will next begin to relate my background as a flying saucer or interplanetary investigator, researcher, writer, and group organizer, as I have been for the past 10 years. We shall continue with Chapter 2 later. I see the saucers. I see the saucers, bruv. Do you? Do you see the saucers? There's a saucer right there. There's a saucer. Goodbye.